pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, the weird stuff's actually at the beach, not the one.
First on the agenda, we have the minutes from May 21st and May 28th, and I have reviewed them and concur with them as they are stated.
Okay,
Uh,
is that a motion to approve?
Yeah,
All right, I second.
all those in favor? Yeah, thank you. Now on to news business comments from Coast Guard. Discommissioned buoys.
Yeah, that's why Sandy's here, yeah. You may know that the Coast Guard has floated, should be said, they put out a proposal to basically decimate the navigational buoys, day markers and lighthouses along the northeast coast from New York all the way up to the end of Maine. Penobscot Bay, about half the buoys are slated to come out. In Muscongas Bay, the only one that I'm sure of is the New Harbor buoy is slated to be removed. And in some instances, I've seen that Franklin Light is going to be turned out, Franklin Island Light, but it's not clear whether that's in the list. Those of us who are concerned about this feel it's totally dumb thing to do. And it may be that, I think in their proposal, they're quoting this as a cost saving measure. So it would save them money in the short term not to maintain this many buoys. But in the long term, people are pretty convinced, especially here on the Maine coast, more so than the other side, that the liabilities and probabilities of nautical catastrophes are going to be far more expensive net than the cost of making the buoys. So a number of us, I think others of us on the committee and a lot of other people here on the coast have sent feedback to the Coast Guard on this proposal. The feedback period is open until June 13th. And I brought it up, this matter at the Harbor Committee meeting last week. And I said I thought it would be helpful to have some feedback get to the coast, not just from individuals, but from, in this case, our Harbor Committee, and everybody thought that was a good idea. So they asked me to draft something, which I did, and I run it by them. And I didn't hear from a bunch of them, but John Stilecki and Robert Ball both are very strongly in favor of it. I mean, the whole committee was. I don't think they're worried about it. I told them what I was going to say. And so then we correctly said, well, wait a minute, we report to the select board. So let's not do anything until we run it by the select board and make sure that you feel that this is an appropriate statement to make in this instance. And so I brought it at the committee's, the Harbor Committee's request. I'm bringing it to you tonight to see if you think this is a good idea. If you want to be signatories to it as well, if you want us to do it ourselves, or if you want to take it over and we can forward it back.
Well, I would go along with it. I mean, you could proceed the way you're going and see what you do get the feedback from.
Yeah,
And then update us on that response.
be delighted to do that.
Yeah.
So Rachel has a copy that.
Yeah, so I actually shared it with Chad via email because I knew he wasn't gonna be here. I know he's, tied into the working waterfront a lot. And he was in favor of it and thought it was a good idea for the selectmen or the select board to sign off on it as well, if you both want to do that.
Yeah.
So this is a copy that I put on the letterhead,
Yeah,
which is everything that is on the piece of paper you have, except for what's in italics and
yeah,
there was Chad's.
sort of a prologue.
And then I just changed the names, like I said, in email, because I was thinking about it and didn't want to have like a bunch of holes if people didn't come in and something.
So if we can get everybody's signatures on that and fairly quickly, either you or I can submit it to electronically to the Coast Guard, I would scan it so that it's.
Yeah. So yeah,
Great.
you can send out an email to the Harbor Committee tomorrow. and let them know it's here,
You will, or do you want me to?
but either way, I don't care. And then, I don't know what Chad's schedule is like, I may not see Chad before the 13th. I don't know
Yeah.
how long he's out of town this week.
Yeah, John Selectboard's do that tonight, but not in time for the meeting.
I think if you give him until at least Monday, that,
Yeah,
you know,
You need us to sign this, Paul.
yeah, if you're in
Yeah.
favor, yeah.
Hmm.
And then we'll get as many harbors, members as we
and
can.
then Rachel, I can get to you the email address to submit it to. It does
Okay.
work, I submitted something a couple of weeks ago and they got back with me.
When I did your minutes for the harbor committee yesterday, I Googled it and I did find the address.
Okay, good.
Yes,
It's real.
I almost put it in the minutes, although it's too far.
So I might as well sign it right now too. while I'm there.
Well.
Thank you for your support.
You're welcome. Thank you for your concern.
Well, thank you. And maybe, as I said, I hope that the feedback is strongly, and there's a lot of it and it's strongly in disapproval. And maybe they won't take it away. We can only hope.
I just gonna say this, I thought it was because I've read a little bit of the news articles or whatever on it, and the Coast Guard is kind of claiming that there's so many people have GPSs or their phones or.
Right.
And they're saying.
To
that
rely
these-
on that.
Yeah, to rely on that, but of course, when you talk with the harbor committee, they're like, well, that doesn't always work, what if it's foggy? Or,
Yeah.
you know, stuff.
Or
like that.
night.
So it's interesting, they had an interesting conversation.
Yeah. The Navy, which is now in a different part of the universe with the Army and the Air Force and everything, and then the Coast Guard's over here with Homeland Security. The Navy was very taken by GPS. They decommissioned most of their Iran and they figured that that was the way to go and that's all they needed. And I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, somebody pointed out how vulnerable GPS is. And they said, oh, yes. So they now have back in their curriculum, they're teaching all of the cadets celestial navigation. And I believe they're quietly reinstating Loran as a backup system. But in my personal feedback to the Coast Guard, I said, don't you think you should sort of pay attention to this decision that the Navy has made and not pull the rug out from underneath them? Anyway. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, so I'll send out an email,
Okay, perfect.
and if you don't get an email, let me know and I'll.
Okay, and call me if I can be of any further assistance, and thank you both, and thank you,
Yes, you're
Chad,
welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
for supporting us. Appreciate it.
All right, next on the agenda, we have new garage at Beach Park.
So. As you guys know, our Quonset hut was kind of destroyed in the winter storms. So we were looking at. Pricing and stuff like that, and it just doesn't make sense to try to redo it, there's just too much wind down there. So we started looking at some of because we have the tractor and the seaweed machine.
Yeah,
That are relatively new, and combined, that's like $100,000 of equipment that we want to try to keep in good order. So we started looking at some of those stainless steel buildings that can pull up pretty quick, like they're pre-manufactured. And seeing kind of cost and things like that, and if it would be feasible and what we could do. So as of right now, it looks like we can, so we had a wetland specialist come out. What we're looking at doing is putting in a 50 by 30 garage. At the end of the tractor path, so where we put the seaweed during the week, that's where we would put the garage, so it would be in the trees actually, so you really wouldn't notice it. And so the seaweed machine, the tractor would be in there, the trucks would be in there. Cause the trucks, the saltwater doesn't do anything good for them either. And then part of it would also be set aside as kind of like a workshop, so we could put electricity and stuff in there also. So we started looking at that, and then the big question was, what down there isn't wetland and what could we, or where could we do it? So we had a wetland specialist come in and look at it, And that's what the diagram is kind of, with the buffer zone and where we're looking at putting it. And essentially where we're putting it. If you're at the beach and you're driving down, you're going in the entrance. So if you're coming in the main entrance here at the beach, and then you have this little side road here, the little D for the parking. Essentially, that's where it's gonna be, is by where that tractor path is, and it would just be there. So the leach field is like up here. So we're far enough from the leach field. This is 75 feet. This blue area is the 75 feet. So we're actually gonna be more than enough, even with an additional, probably 25 or 50 feet extra buffer. So that is, we're just thinking, it would be the most effective way of doing it, of keeping our stuff good and relatively reasonably priced. Like we're kind of looking at costs and things like that, and even with the concrete and leveling it and putting it above the floodplain and stuff, I think it's like 65,000. 67, so it's kind of right around there. So is it expensive? Yes, but the Quonset hut to replace is like 5 or 6.
They look so unprofessional and they're very repetitive because of weather, what you just said.
Yes,
So it's just kind of wasting your dollars. And
yes,
everything.
and that's why, and that's what we're thinking, that the garage is gonna be a better option. And the other thing that it'll do is it'll free up, like at Hannah Landing, the stuff in the winter wouldn't have to be down there. Because there would be, that garage space would be able to store the stuff,
Right.
so. So yeah, so we said we kind of get your guys's. Lots of feedback that, as far as time frame, probably in the fall,
Yeah,
because obviously it's summer and we're not gonna try to do construction in the middle of it. Our parking situation is bad as it is.
yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Would you lose spaces with that there?
No, but that also doesn't really, so where that is, people really can't park there anyway. So it's kind of like a weird area.
As long
So.
as you're not eliminating Storm's parking space.
Before my time, that's all I'll say. Um,
Okay,
so yeah, so that's kind of what we're thinking, is that it's just probably gonna be our best option. So,
very good.
Okay, okay.
Get it done.
Yeah, I like it.
What color?
so it's gonna be like a light gray that'll match the building, and then the roof will be like a charcoal. So it'll match the light gray, will match the pavilion sides. So we'll probably start sending it out for bid here soon, so that we can have everything done and ready, so we can get it for fall before we start hitting winter.
Okay,
So
thank
yeah.
you.
Routine.
Next on the agenda is a performance agreement for Old Bristol Days.
Yeah, so, Sabrina, the head volunteer, sent this along. One of the performers is requesting that we sign this agreement / contract in order for her to perform. I've never seen something like this, so I brought it to you. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure about it.
Yeah,
It
I
was,
mean, I guess what I'm thinking is. If we're gonna have her, if she do we have one for all of the performers?
we have to be consistent, so there you go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and
So
then
you
this
just-
is the other thing that I haven't been able to find out, that if. This reads like she would get paid unless we gave her a 60-day
yeah,
notice.
and that's exactly what it is.
So my concern is that if we wake up on Saturday morning and it's thunderstorms all day long and
Yeah.
downpours all day
We
long.
would have to pay her anyway.
We have to pay her, and I haven't been able to find out if we've paid people in the past, if that has happened.
No,
We have to
But,
pay.
We haven't, I asked around, I
Yeah.
also asked, well, John Riley plays outside in public in a local band, and I said, I go, if it rains, do you get paid? And he said, no.
no, so, no,
So. I don't know, that's why I bring it to you. make the hard
So
decision.
what happens if you say no?
I guess she'll either have,
Do you wanna perform or not perform?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a government, local government thing. We're not gonna,
It's kind of a weird contract, because like, she could cancel on us that morning.
Yeah.
With no repercussions, but we have to give her 60 days
Yeah.
where she gets paid.
No.
Is she that good that we need, she has rights?
Evidently, she thinks she is.
well, I'm not even sure what, is
Yeah.
it for kids, is it kid oriented?
Well,
Like
she has
band
some
and-
kid oriented, but she does a Karen Carpenter tribute. She has some kid stuff, but apparently she has Grammy Awards for something or
Oh,
other.
yeah.
And I don't think we
Listen,
want
I
to,
just, I don't know, we go,
Okay,
no.
I just, yeah, I was like, just a misspelled sound, which didn't really reflect well.
notice that. Yeah. No, I'm not comfortable entering into any agreement that binds us in that way. I don't think that we should do that.
Yeah,
Cause who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody knows, yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking, cause like last year, you look at last year, where, you know, it was kind of all. No,
yeah, but the bands performed.
the bands all performed last year, so we still had to perform, and Bristol Day still happened, just not the fireworks.
We don't pay for fireworks if we don't have the fireworks.
Yes.
They may keep our
Right.
deposit for a year, but we
Right.
don't-
Yeah.
we don't pay them.
Right.
Yeah, and the floats, they just kept our deposit for this year, so,
Mhm.
you know, we didn't pay the floats for the fireworks, so it's just. No,
all right, so,
No, that's fine. If she gets a better offer to play somewhere else on that day, then by all means.
okay, next item on the new
Thank you.
business is liquor license renewal for Round Pond Coffee LLC.
I'm gonna leave that letter for you.
Oh, yeah, well.
Where did you
we'll
find
wanna
it?
read We'll wanna read it.
At the beach in the donation box.
In the
In
donation
the
box.
in the donation box at the beach.
Okay.
I don't, like I said, I don't know how long they've been there, cause I hadn't checked it in a couple weeks,
Mhm.
but it's kind of washed out. Was that, it's there, I don't know, I don't know.
We'll push
They
this
found
down.
it, put it in there.
No, because they do them different now.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's all electronic.
Thank you, thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
And it's kind of funny because they always had like the municipal officials sign them and now
Oh.
they've done electronic and that's. just-
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we grant the liquor license renewal for Round Pond Coffee LLC, not requiring a signature anymore because of change of mannerism, I guess.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Thank you. Some nice coffee.
Next item on the agenda is open space land classification application.
So this one is, so these folks bought this property a few years ago and we never got an updated application for their open space. So generally, if it changes hands, the land classification stays with the property and then we just get the new owner to sign up, fill out a new application. So we did that, that's their application, but now they have the property up for sale. So they're asking if you would sign that, so I can get it back to them, so when it does go to sale at their. It's all settled, right, they're in total compliance with their open space request. Because they technically weren't in compliance because we only had the previous owner's application on file.
Right.
But now they've sent that. Normally, that would sit here until next year, until like April, and then you would
Right.
have gotten them all at the same time,
Yes.
but because it's up for sale, they've asked that. You know, somebody could sign it and give it back to them.
What does Parker appraisal think?
Well, let's see, I talked with Jess just in general, about all the applications, the land classification applications, whatever. And yeah, she's like, yeah, you just gotta get the new application from the new owner. And that's that, they have not looked at that particular application.
So it's all the same acreage.
Yeah, it's just, the only thing that's different is the name.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we'll have another one, I guess, if they sell the property.
You all good with that? You all good?
Yeah, I'm fine with
I mean,
it.
it's really the real estate agent that's pushing
Yeah.
for it. But Jess did see, she saw the letter that we sent and yeah, she was aware of.
Okay.
The updating, there were a couple more passed too that needed new applications.
This one requires one signature, listen. Right,
Beautiful, thank you.
yeah. Next item is dam fence specification proposal.
Yeah, so bringing that back because the fish committee had a change request in the drawing. So if you look at your drawing, there's now a new 14-inch gap on the bottom of it. So Rick had requested that, him and Jay got together. And so I sent it off to Knowles and then they redid the drawing, and so that's with the 14-inch gap, so they can have the two 2x6s in there.
Okay,
That change the cost and everything of it, or is it,
I don't think
No,
so, no.
okay,
I mean, they bid it out, so I think either, well, it's definitely gonna be less metal because they're making a bigger gap, so.
yeah. Okay, thank you for that update then. Snow removal. Oh,
Oh, I have questions, Hagar has some questions. And some of them I was like, I don't know, that's the selectmen. He is asking about, there is no requirement for any sort of repair to lawns or rocks or anything else that is put within the right of way. So we talk about it, believe the mailbox, but we don't specify whether we're gonna go by the MDOT system or the US Postal Service status quo. So
postal service,
you wanna use the.
that's the appropriate,
The
yeah,
postal service specs?
yeah,
All right, so postal service specs.
unless you think differently. Because if they can't get their mail delivered because and they might be the same, but,
They've got to be pretty close because.
Yeah,
why would
but
they
I
be
would
different?
say postal service.
And then so I mean. I've already put the bid specification out, so I'm not going to go in and change it,
no,
but I think these will come into light when. When you go to sign the contract,
Mhm,
you might wanna have these things in there, so.
yeah,
You're not gonna really decide tonight, you're probably gonna
Mhm.
decide more after the bid is due on July 2nd, and so you might wanna decide. You think about it, what you wanna do, but yeah, cause we don't, in the current contract, there's nothing in there about the lawns or the rocks, and it does come up.
it's gonna, you know what, I know why this is, it's probably because of me.
Well,
If
we
there's
have
not,
some sections in
Yeah,
town
if-
every year.
yeah, well, if there's nothing in there about it, there's gonna be, because
Yeah,
I had
yeah, you gotta roll,
yeah, about a month, and
yeah,
I'm not, really wasn't satisfied, whatever, I
yeah.
leave it out of the picture.
Every year we have some spots, Chamberlain is over on Long Cove Point Road, it's tight in there, the trucks are big, they always knock out some bad stone wall and.
Yeah,
Lawn,
they should be responsible.
yeah, so I guess I'm hearing that we should probably at some point add some kind of language.
Mhm.
About items in the right of way.
yeah, and I
Signs
actually,
and guardrails wouldn't be.
yes, it should be structures, it shouldn't. I don't think it should be anything beyond structures personally. Because it's too hard to
Well,
kind of figure out where the responsibility lies, but if it's a stone wall or a mailbox or.
yeah, but you got to look,
Lawns.
if you take a lawn. If you take a lawn and just plow it up, and it's like this high,
Mhm.
I mean.
I
Yes,
know it happens on Carl Bailey, it happens to
Yeah.
us every year, but I think that's a reasonable part of them doing business. I think it's unavoidable in some spots,
well, it wasn't in this spot,
well,
It was
that's
not.
possible.
They could have just wait.
I think on that, we need to wait for Chad.
Okay, yeah,
Well, you got time, anyway, you can all just think about it and.
I mean, we get irritated every year, but we just accept it as that part of Carl Bailey being so narrow. And the trucks that they bring down
Yeah, but they use it, oh, well,
It's the trucks.
I'm not making a big deal about it, but it's, he should have been responsible for it. Only place on Bradley Hill Road, it was right straight, pristine. It was the
Yeah.
guy driving the truck, didn't raise his wind.
Yeah, and he probably got distracted playing with the radio or checking his phone.
Yeah,
Well, no, I said, that goddamn Yates was there, I'm gonna fix him. Okay,
All right, so their next question, I mean, I got a couple, two more
Oh, sure.
questions, I think. The next one is the subcontractors. Yes, the contract specification does not stipulate how you would like subcontractors treated. Are they allowed to, also, do you want copies of their insurance? Which I thought was probably a good idea,
Yeah.
I've never asked for that in the past, but it's probably a good idea if they're using subcontractors. And are you going to allow subcontractors, and do they need their own line of credit?
subcontractors are not the town's vendor, though.
No, they're not.
The subcontractors work under whoever,
It's the contractor, yeah.
so
So we,
as long, it's fine to have copies of their insurance. As long as it doesn't cloud the relationship. Because I don't want them to be seen as employees at some point.
right. So you think the best is to keep the subcontractor completely under the contractor?
Yeah, they're under the direction of the contractor. I think so. You know, if Marcus or Roberta have a different idea of how that should work. At MMA, that's
Oh.
fine, but
Yeah, okay, well, there again, it's not set in stone now, but I guess
Right.
that will be another section, depending on who wins the bid, that gets the bid, it will be another
Yeah.
section of the.
Yeah.
right,
The letter of credit, we're asking for 20% of the annual bid amount. Do you want the total 20% or do you want 20% of each year? So, yeah, so do you want so if the bid is $500,000 total for all 3 years, do you want 20% of the 500? Or do you want, just the 20% of what 1 year would cost
I think
each year?
each year too.
each year.
So you want 20% of what each year would cost?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. His other thing was about the salt treatment, yeah.
Which is always gonna be an issue.
Yeah, he says, we have been using a modified salt priority treatment. We have done this at our own expense. By that, I mean neither the town or contractors told us we have to, simply think it does a better job. Will there be any consideration for this type of treatment? I told him, Bristol is familiar with your method of plowing roads. The best thing you can do is include some sort of comment about the salt treatment and the added value. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Right, and the other ones I think I got, which were just about the equipment most. So, yeah, so we've had 2 people, so far.
Well, that's a plus,
Yeah, so a little competition.
yeah,
Good.
Doesn't hurt anybody.
yeah, this is good. Okay. Town office report.
Well, so I had a call from a gentleman named David Gordon today. And he couldn't say enough good about Jack and Sean. So apparently he ran out of gas somewhere along the line this morning and those 2 guys went and helped him out, got him some gas and got him up and running. So I just wanted to share that and I called him
Nice.
back and he was very, very pleased. And the funny thing is they were on, motorcycles and they were at the diner, so we could see anyway. It was kind of like a thing, like, what is, because his friend kept looking down the road and we were like, what is he looking at? What is he looking at? So
Yeah.
this whole story came together. when we found out.
Well, that's good, yeah.
And then a request, wondering if you would be willing to maybe take some funds out of the Worthy Poor for gift cards for food for the Caring for Kids. It's been a hard spring. We are getting a lot of, still getting GA requests in here
Mhm.
for electricity. And I've had 2 conversations about property abatements, because people, it's been hard.
Having a hard
Cold.
time.
It's been a cold spring,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the weather's peaking now, but yeah, I just did a GA this morning, it was, times are tough, I think, out there.
Yeah.
And I happened to run into, Jenny at Reggie's. And we were just talking about, you know, that kind of stuff in general.
Mhm.
So she recommended, Main Street Groceries, because she thought they did a really good job with the booze and the cigarettes. And then Aaron said that Hannaford had special cards too that you could get that doesn't allow any booze or cigarettes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's,
So, and I don't, Riley's doesn't, I think the one time we got them at Riley's, I remember somebody making stickers and putting them on there, which can always be peeled off.
they can be, and those well, they're misused sometimes, they bend it on stuff that they shouldn't.
Yeah,
You
yes,
really can't prohibit it on a gift card,
right.
and so, I mean,
But I think those stores in town
Are
they've got a bigger population that
Right,
they're serving,
yeah.
so they're a little better
Yeah.
set up for it.
Yeah.
Everybody on this peninsula goes to Jim Scott,
Mhm.
you know.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't have any objection.
I don't have it, yeah.
Alright, so I was thinking like $1,000 and just do 500 at each
Mm.
place, and that would
Mm.
give her 20. Is that right? Math right? I think so. That would give her 20
Mm.
cards to give out.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She thanks you.
Okay. Building permits.
You just have one.
Says plural, really.
Well. I know. I noticed last week's warrant, the one before said warrant.
Hmm. All right. Next on the agenda is the warrants. Mhm. Geraniums are expensive too, aren't they?
So what's expensive?
Geraniums,
Yeah, I didn't even know. I don't even wanna know.
okay.
I'll see it when I do the check, right? Oh my God. We put a sign out on the watering trough for people to boil their water out of there, because even though there's no E. coli, it is bacteria.
I'm sure.
Hasn't slowed anybody down, you take that from them.
No. It's strange that it just, every year it just keeps coming and coming, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Just,
And there's, I think the old hospital there is on it, and I know Melrose is on it, and I bet the drum house is on it.
yeah. Yeah. It's gotta be like a boiling spring. that it? Yeah.
We
Oh,
haven't
she's reading now.
been-
The days of our lives.
Yes,
Notice, public comments. Seeing, hearing none, or proceed to notice of forthcoming meeting. I missed that, so yes. About that. Pay attention. Well, I don't feel bad, Christine missed it too.
Usually Chad is,
Oh.
when Chad comes in, that's the first thing he does, is he gets the warrants out of it.
yeah,
So. Notice of forthcoming meetings. Fish Committee. Thursday, June 5th. At 6 o'clock. Old Bristol Days Volunteer Meeting, Tuesday, June 10th. At 4:30. Town Office or Beach. We're not sure yet,
Well, weather pending.
weather pending. Okay. Parks Commission, Tuesday, June 17th, 5:30 PM, Elephant Center. Select Board, Wednesday, June 18th, 18:30 hours, Town Office. Is there anything else?
no,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
sure.
All those in favor? Thank you.